So we have the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 pre-season patch notes. Let's run through them. Stability. Improved stability when interacting with message of the day. Also when sending voice communications. Never experienced issues with those, but hey ho. Progression. Completion display will now properly appear when completing prestige challenges in both multiplayer and zombies. Addressed an issue where Bailey wasn't holding the intended pistol in the operator selection menu. They've added nuke tans in private matches so you can have a 1v1 with your mate. They've also addressed an issue where players were spawned in when joining a session in progress instead of spectating before selecting a loadout. Yes, we saw ourselves in a kill cam before selecting a loadout too. Then they've improved stability in the infected game mode. Because here they've also been improving spawns. Spawn tuning will be an ongoing process of taking in data, reviewing it, etc. So they're going to keep on tuning it until they get it just right. Let me know when you're playing through this patch. Do you think it's any better? They've addressed an issue where players would automatically equip their previously used loadout when joining matches already in progress. Addressed an issue where players would die at initial spawn when selecting their loadout. These are some really kooky bugs. Alright, the weapons. It says here they are focusing on assault rifles and submachine guns. For ARs, we are pulling in minimum damage ranges and lessening the impact of headshots at close range. SMGs are receiving damage range increases to improve their mid-range effectiveness. So we're pretty much getting AR nerfs and SMG buffs. Let's see. The XM4 maximum damage range was 22, now down to 21. It was at 7 meters, but they've upped it to 16 meters. So that's the least range, isn't it? So now that does 21 in 0 to 16, whereas it used to be 0 to 7 before it would fall off. Now it falls off after that. That seems like a buff for one less point of damage. I'm no Call of Duty scientist, but does that not seem like a slight nerf to the damage, but a big increase to the range? Same for the medium range. We've got a 1 point damage reduction with a 5 meter. Okay, we've got a range decrease here. So it was 45.7, it's now 40.6. It's been reduced for medium range. But then the minimum damage range, which is the long range fall off, was 45, now down to 40, so it falls off quicker. So it did get nerfed. Then they've reduced the CHF power multiplier from 1.48 to 1.42. Unfortunate. Still, do assault rifles really need nerfing? The AK-74 looks like it's got the same treatment, 1 damage reduction on the close range, but it goes from 5.7 meters, 38.1. Is that a typo? Is that right? Then they've just disregarded medium damage range altogether, so this weapon does not have this now. And then the long range was 21, they've upped it to 22, but they've lowered the range for it to fall off. So it was 41.9, now it's 38.1, which is about 3 meters. They've also reduced the headshot multiplier from 1.3 to 1.15. Slight nerf there. The AIMS 85 got a 2 point damage reduction, but the range for the close range is gone from 8.3 to 50.8. What? Can't be right. We've also took away the medium damage range in this one as well, with the minimum damage range being 17 still, and they've took 5 meters off it. Okay. GPR 91 was 23 for the close range, now down to 21, so that's 2 points per tick. Is that how it works per tick? Oh, no. I don't know Call of Duty maths. And the range was 10 meters, up now to 19.1. Oh, okay, so that's how this works. The medium range is 21, down to 20, with the range at 48.3 meters, now down to 45.7 meters. Minimum damage range was 17, still 17. It was 48.3, now down to 45.7. The Model L has had a 2 point decrease on its short range damage, with the range being 8.9 meters, up to 44.5. They've taken away medium range damage numbers, and the minimum damage range was 21, now up to 22, with a 6 meter nearly. Yes, about a 6 meter decrease. Headshot multiplier also reduced on this weapon from 1.3 to 1.15. The Goblin MK2 has had a 2 point damage reduction for maximum damage range. It was 6.4 meters, now 39.4. Wow. Also, medium damage range has been taken away. The minimum range damage stayed the same, with the range not changing either. They didn't change the minimum damage range on this weapon. And then the AS Val has 2 medium damage ranges. However, the maximum damage range was 21, now down to 20. It was 9.5 meters, now up to 21.6 meters. The medium damage range 1 was 20, now down to 17. That's 3 points. I think that's the biggest damage reduction out of all the ARs. And then it was 43.2. It is now 43.2, so it stayed the same. But they've got rid of medium damage range 2, so they've just got rid of all that altogether. And then the minimum damage range was 15, still 15. However, they've taken 10 meters off that altogether. Holy moly, that's 10 meters. So what do you think to these AR stats? They're a bit confusing to someone like me. Like I said, I'm not a Call of Duty scientist. These ranges seem very drastically changed. I'm curious as to why. Let's talk SMGs though. So we've got the C9 here. Before we go into it, I'm just going to save myself the hassle. Yeah, I've just skimmed through. All SMG damages have been left alone. The only thing that's been tweaked is the ranges ever so slightly. So the maximum damage range on the C9 went from 12.7 to 13.3. The medium damage range 1 went from 15.9 to 16.5. Range 2 went from 27.3 to 30.5. Then minimum damage range was 27.3, now 30.5, so slight range increases across the board. The KSV went from 10.2 for its maximum damage range to 10.8. Ever so slight change, not sure why that was necessary. And then medium damage range 1 was 15.2, now 15.9. Range 2 was 26.7, now 29.2. And then the minimum damage range was 26.7, now 29.2. They seem quite little, them changes. Not quite sure why they did that, unless they just wanted to prove they did something with it, maybe. The Tanto 0.22 was at 6.4 for its maximum damage range, still 6.4. Didn't get changed. However, medium damage range 1 went from 15.2 to 16.5, so it got another meter. And then range 2 went from 25.4 to 27.9, with minimum damage range being at 25.4 up to 27.9, so slight increases when you get to the medium damage range to minimum damage range. The close range didn't get changed. The most god-awful gun in the game, the PP919, got a range increase from 15.9 for maximum damage to 16.5. Its medium damage range 1 went from 19.7 to 20.3, with range 2 going from 29.2 to 31.8, and then we go from minimum damage range at 29.2 to 31.8. The Jackal PDW got like a slight increase with 14.6 for its maximum damage range up to 15.2, with the medium range 1 being 17.8 up to 18.4, medium range 2 being 26 up to 29.8. That's only 4 meters. That's quite substantial. And then the minimum damage range being 26 up to 29. Wow. And then we have the Compact 9.2 with its maximum damage at 10.8 to 11.4, its medium damage range being from 14.6 to 15.2, range 2 being 22.9 to 26.7, and then its minimum damage range being at 22.9 to 26.7. So across the board, SMG's got a range buff. Now don't get me wrong, they were kind of lacking to the point where you could only use them in close range, but I feel like that's kind of the reason you should be using SMGs in close range and ARs for mid to long range. So giving the SMGs more range doesn't really make sense to me. As someone who loves playing SMG, that doesn't make sense to me. It says here last week they fixed the shotgun slug issue, but they're still working out additional issues. So unfortunately, they've had to take it down from a 1 tap in the chest for the time being. So now, not doing 106, it does 92 damage on both shotguns. So now slugs hit for 92, so it's a 2 tap. Just until they fix the issues with the slugs. And then a controversial one here, the Recon Combat Speciality. They've reduced duration that enemies are highlighted after respawning from 2 seconds to 1.5. This is very talked about a lot, and I don't know why. I feel like it doesn't really matter. But there's a lot of people that think it's wall hacks. Don't get me wrong, on some really little map, even Nuketown, it can help a lot. But only when people are trying to spawn trap like in Domination. It helps you when you respawn, see where people are when they're trying to spawn trap you. And there's other things as well. But I don't have a problem with it personally. I think it's cool. Other people don't. We're probably going to see it get removed eventually because people keep moaning about it. And they've even had an additional reduction that will be coming before Season 1. So there you go. And they resolved the issue where you could activate it by changing loadout. This patch got an increased score cost for UAVs from 500 to 550. And an increased dispatch perk score cost for counter UAVs from 550 to 600. This is one of my favourites. They've reduced flashbang screen effect duration by 20%. That is fantastic because they were far too long. They've increased the health of UAV and counter UAVs, but rockets to destroy remain unchanged. Increased the initial explosion radius of the napalm strike. They've reduced the initial entry delay of the LDBR. They've increased the flying speed of the strategic bomber. I always thought that was kind of fast anyway, but they've increased it apparently. They've reduced its score cost for interceptors from 1250 to 1150, or reduced it rather. Movement updates. Adjusted stance change cooldowns to reduce effectiveness of repeated prone to stand movement. Enough snaking. Not quite sure what that means. I haven't done that possibly. They've increased weapon XP earn rates for most modes and increased player XP earn rates for the following modes: TDM, Control, S&D, and Gunfight. So you're going to get more XP in those modes now for your player XP and weapon XP. However, there's been a slight decrease to player XP and weapon XP earned in face-off modes. They're the small scale ones. I feel like they don't reward too much anyway. Challenges. They've addressed an issue where players were able to complete the nuke challenge while dying. Doesn't say they've addressed the one where you can get the Dark Ops one for doing 25 games where you get 30 kills with a different weapon and get the nuke challenge. Doesn't say they've fixed that yet. UI. Appropriate perks will now display when viewing the featured player during best play. Zombies. Gobblegum names will now properly update when switching between tier tabs. Vehicles. Close an exploit that allowed moving the tactical raft while the player is inside of it. Added various stability fixes. So what do you think to these patch notes? What do you think to the AR nerfs and the submachine gun buffs? Personally, I don't think they were necessary. I think ARs need buffing, if I'm honest. I love SMGs and I feel like ARs are lacking a little bit. But alas, we're coming up to season 1. I'm excited. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next one.